Right, so this is a part 2 to cultivating humility, part 7, part 2, right? A part 2 to the 7th video, right? On cultivating humility, right? So, I don't know how many of you all experience this situation, but the issue of hearing voices in your head, not in a hallucinating sense, right? You are not hallucinating, right? You don't have a psychological disorder, right? It's not a hallucination, it's not a psychological disorder. It is a technological or spiritual problem imposed upon you by whatever dark forces are operating outside there. That is unknown to me and probably unknown to you as well, right? Whatever the influences are, right? Whatever the influences are, right? Influences that know how to open gateways in your ears and other passageways, your private parts, right? Influences that know how to open spiritual gateways in your ear, or whatever it is that they do to infiltrate your ears, your mind, right? It occurs, and it is not hallucination, it is not a psychological disorder, it is a spiritual / technological issue, right? So how do you deal with voices in your head that is not yours? You curse them, right? Curse at them until they leave. One, right? You don't do that forever. You just do it until the time that you need to do it for, right? 2, ignore it, right? When I ignore these forces, they will tend to leave, right? 3, you actively try to block it out. Actively try to block it out. What you call as mind control, meaning you can take back control over your own mind. You taking back control over your own mind, right? To assist with the security Bhagavad Gita, right? You assisting in controlling back your own mind rather than it being controlled by forces that you don't even know what these forces are, right? What they're capable of doing, which is sending people on to suicide, right? 2, reverse manipulation. They don't even manipulate anywhere. They're doing reverse manipulation on you, right? Reverse and reverse, and that reverse manipulation, and that's the extent and the depth at which this going, right? So dealing with those voices, knowing what you have to do is know your own voice, right? Know your own voice, that you separate your voice from those voices, right? Know your own voice, that you are capable of separating your voice from those voices, right? Separate yourself from my voice, separate yourself from those external intrusive voices, separate yourself from these voices. When I say separate, I don't mean isolate yourself, right? I mean, I'm talking about from a mental or a spiritual, whatever you want to call it, right? Separate yourself from voices that are not inherently you, meaning be your authentic self, right? Being your authentic self. And it's not even like that. These are voices that are is like so much more deeper and manipulative than what I'm saying is like voices that are actually telling you things that would drive you to suicide, right? So you're talking about constantly 24/7 telling people how stink and dirty they are, right? These kind of things, right? And it is a religious war that's happening right now. It's not even spiritual, it's a religious war that's happening. I don't know the source of this war, right? I do not know the source of this war. I am not the source of this war, right? I do not know the source of this war, because if I was the source of this war, I would be fighting a religious war. I'm not fighting a religious war, right? So these voices, hell-bent, they are hell-bent on calling others dirty, right? Dirty, right? And you being too dirty for knowledge, right? Nobody in my estimation, no individual in my estimation is too dirty for knowledge, right? No individual is too dirty